Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. I see our participant numbers increasing, so we'll let everyone join us before we get started. Hope you're all having a great afternoon. All right. It looks like our numbers have leveled off a little bit, so we'll go ahead and jump into the presentation. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our Student Member Benefit Spotlight. This session is actually a third installment in our four-part Student Member Benefit Spotlight series. These are designed to be short, focused discussions highlighting the many benefits available through our ASID membership and really helping you to make the most of these resources that are available to you as a student member. Today's session will include approximately 30 minutes of content followed by about 15 minutes of time for questions and discussion. And we encourage you to submit your questions using the chat feature within the Zoom platform, and we'd be happy to answer those questions during our time at the end. All right. So to help guide today's discussion, I have a few of my colleagues from our HQ staff on with me today. And I'll kick us off with our introductions. My name is Brandy Staten. I'm the Member Engagement Associate on our Engagement and Brand Experience team at ASID HQ. I joined the team back in January of 2024, and my focus is specifically on student engagement programs and initiatives. So happy to have you all here today. I will hand things over to my colleague, Dr. Dawn Haney.
Hey guys, just a brief introduction. I am the research fellow at ASID, and I have the privilege of curating all of our research, whether that's for our business um, members who are looking for business resources, or for those who are looking for more topic-oriented research, um, and then working with Robin to sort of work with knowledge and education together.
And I'm Anderson. I am the Director of Education Services here at ASID. And my role at ASID is literally almost all things education. I manage the online learning system that we have, as well as curate a lot of our CEUs and speakers that we have at some of our national conferences, and even sometimes webinars like this, depending on what the focus is, just like Dr. Haney mentioned. We do a lot of curating of panels and different types of speakers across the country for students as well as practitioners at a variety of different markets and conferences and events that are all contiguous to interior design.
Thanks so much, Robin and Dawn. All right. Now that we have our introductions out of the way, we'll transition to the focus of today's spotlight, and that is on the resources that can help you continue growing as a design professional really long before graduation. One of the greatest benefits of your membership is access to information, learning opportunities, research, and professional development resources that support your growth both inside and outside of the classroom. So whether you're exploring future career paths, building industry knowledge, or preparing for certification, ASID offers tools designed to help you advance your expertise, and that's our focus today. During today's session, we'll introduce several resources available to you, including our student communications, making sure you know what those are and when they come to you, our design research by ASID, which Dawn will cover for us, design learning, and our NCIDQ exam prep, which Robin will cover. And our goal really is to help you better understand how these resources can support your academic success, your professional development, and your future career goals, really to help you feel prepared for that journey. So we'll begin with one of our easiest ways to stay connected and informed, and that is through our student communications. Now, while many of the resources we discussed today are available when you're ready to explore them, our student communications help bring out those important opportunities, updates, resources, and industry insights directly to your inbox, typically. So we want you to keep an eye on your inbox regularly. That's really important, as our communications really do serve as a gateway to all of these tools and opportunities that support your growth. So with that, let's take a look at our student communication resources and have some of them listed here on our screen. So really, the inside scoop is our main point of communication to our student members. We know that your inbox is overwhelmed and inundated with emails from the university, from your instructors. So we really want to pinpoint the communication method that works best for all of you. And we found that having this one targeted newsletter called the Inside Scoop that's dedicated to our student and educator members coming to you currently on the schedule of the second Tuesday of every month, that's really where, your go-to source, if you will, for all of our important information and experiences. So I want to make sure you're checking for that. If you are not receiving that, please let us know. We want to make sure that you are on that distribution list and that you are receiving that regularly. In addition to that, you'll receive a variety of communications that are tailored to you as a student member, focused on these other experiences and programming that we have available to you, whether that be our scholarships through our foundation, or our competitions like the student portfolio competition, our events and webinars, just like the one that you're attending today. We have student leader roundtables throughout the year. We also are at in-person events like NeoCon. So we want to make sure that you're aware of where we're going to be, and the support and programming that we have available to you. These communications are designed to help you stay engaged with ASID and ensure that you're aware of how they fit into your academic experience as well as your future professional journey. All right. With that said, I'm going to hand things over to Dawn to talk about design research by ASID.
Brandy. So one of the things I want to let all of our student members know is that as members, you have access to most of all of our design research for free. And it comes in a variety of different reports. But what we try to cover are macro trends. So for example, looking at major demographic shifts, looking at consumer behaviors. So we're trying to think through what is that next step so that people in our industry can prepare and be more resilient in their practice, right? We also look at economic conditions. So we have a forecast that we do annually, looking at the construction industry and what the spending is, but also looking at trade and inflation and how that is impacting our industry. We offer business insights. So in addition to the resources that Robin will, you'll see in design learning that she is developing, we have business reports that think about talent retention and acquisition. We think about succession planning. So for those of you who are interested in maybe stepping into a leadership role and looking for your own firm, we can offer those kinds of resources to help you think through that. And we're really thinking through the future of the industry and sort of really always analyzing what the trends are so that we can build knowledge for our members and really sort of set them up for opportunities that we see that are forecasted coming out. And then the last thing I'll say is the workplace evolution is a piece that we're working on, where we're thinking through what the future of workplace is. Like many firms and many in the industry are trying to understand what a hybrid workplace looks like, what its needs are. We too are tracking that evolution and trying to develop publications or working with Robin on CEUs and various things that can help our members stay ahead of the game. So if we think through, I want to spend just a few minutes to think through about how students can use the research. So you'll see to the right on the slide, we have our Trends Outlook report that's published each January. We have the State of Interior, that Trends Outlook does exactly that. It looks at what these large macro trends are that are impacting clients, impacting business. Um, there's a little bit on design trends, but it's a primary focus on these sort of larger macro shifts that we see, which inevitably impact design trends. But it is sort of looking at these larger trends that you can use when you're thinking about who your users are and what their needs are. We have the State of Interior Design report that comes out usually early fall, end of summer. And that is thinking about where designers are located, where the cities are that have the most competition among designers, where is their opportunity, whereas you don't have as many designers per the population. It talks about where the luxury clients are. And so it's giving you a sort of leg up on where you might want to settle if you're looking for a job. The economic outlook looks at that forecast. And some of that can be used in your studio projects if you're thinking through, for example, a capstone and you're having to do some research on a particular market sector, and someone asks you how relevant this project is in the market. You can look at our economic outlook report and sort of see that there is growth in that market sector, and so you find it very relevant. Um, and then there's the compensation and benefits guide, and that sort of shows compensation data. So, what is the average compensation for a junior interior designer, for example? And it looks at that by firm size. And so you can sort of see if you're looking at different practice areas or if you're looking at the different regions around the US, kind of what would be comparable, as well as benefits. So obviously, large firms usually have more benefits to offer than small firms, but at least there's a guide there to sort of give you a baseline. And then in addition to these business topic reports, we offer more research-oriented or topic-based reports that you can use in your capstone work. So for example, that workplace piece that I told you, we have a reimagining workplace piece. We have an adaptive living research guide that helps think through the factors you need to consider if you're looking at senior housing, for example. So we have work that you can sort of lean into and pull that research and use it in your capstone projects. Um, Having all of these business resources and bring all of this information about particular market sectors and what the issues are in those market sectors helps prepare you for interviews. It makes the person that you're meeting with, you're able to illustrate your knowledge of the industry at a much higher level and be much more prepared. And then if, like I said, some of these more topic-oriented reports like the Adaptive Resource Guide, Senior Living Guide, um, those are giving you very specific evidence-based solutions. So they're showing you three-dimensional models of how to model a kitchen to be best prepared for someone who might face a disability, whether that be permanent or temporary, from sort of a broken leg, for example, or something more permanent like Parkinson's, right? So there are these evidence-based solutions, and it's showing you explicitly what the recommendations are from the experts. Um, and then just in general, leaning into the research and really understanding all that we offer helps you better understand industry trends, right? And with that, it allows you to explore the career sectors from being professional design services or whether or not you want to go into sales. There is a wide range of where interior designers offer their talents, and you can find that in that State of Interior Design report. You can see the different places that we offer our design services and how big of a piece of the chunk of the pie that is for the entire industry. Those are just a few of the things, Randy.
Thanks so much, John. All right. Now we'll shift gears to our Design Learning by ASID platform, and Robin's going to help cover that as well as our NCIDQ exam prep.
All right, thanks, Brandy. So I know you all are students right now, but you're going to be students for life, whether you realize that or not. Learning is something that happens all the way through your career. So, and Design Learning, which is our virtual learning hub, it's our new learning management system, which, by the way, most of you who are students, at colleges and universities, even in high school level, you might be using a learning management system like Canvas or Brightspace or Blackboard. We actually, our learning management system is one of those. So when you come to our site, it looks a lot very similar to what you're already using. So no user learning curve here. So, and it's great because it has so many interactive features. Most of our courses are built with current online learning standards and accessibility support elements. So if you need those types of things, we have all of that stuff built in for you. And really, even though a course could be designed as a continuing education credit or a training or a toolkit, students can access all of those. And there are some courses that are offered, especially for members, for free, and some that are are offered for a nominal fee. And just like what Dr. Haney was talking about, if there's a topic or something that you want to learn more about, it likely there is a CEU that is, focusing on that particular topic area, which gives you a deeper dive and helps you to talk with some of or interact with some of the ideas of some subject matter experts that are in the field that are doing that type of work currently. And we do try to keep our catalog quite current. So that way, topics that are of the moment, like AI, and other types of things that are changing as trends in the interior design field, we try to keep up with that in terms of our course offerings as well. So, why does this all matter? Well, like I said, you're going to be a lifelong learner. So, professional learning doesn't stop right from earning your degree. Because things like these current trends and economic changes and outlooks, there are adaptations to industry, and you need to adapt your practice with that and stay current with changes in codes. You want to try to develop higher level skills or advanced skills than beyond what you already have coming out of school. For some of you that are in states that require licensure or registration, sometimes those require CEUs that you have to take on a regular basis in order to renew. But the main thing is why we continuously learn is not only to become better practitioners and to become more relevant, but also so that your career grows. It doesn't stagnate if you only stay in one place at one time and you don't if you keep growing and keep trying to learn more, you will grow with the industry and your career will grow too. So it's just as important to do that as it is getting the initial degree as an interior designer. Now, we do get a lot of questions about this in the education department, which is certification and certificate. There is definitely a difference between the two. The one that's most important that most students ask about when coming right out of school is the NCIDQ course or the NCIDQ certification. So that is a national certification exam that it measures the competency of health, safety, and welfare standards of practicing interior designers. They're measuring your competency for that. A lot of firms, a lot of industry partners, a lot of vendors who work within the interior design or architecture field like to see students who have graduated and are pursuing NCIDQ. There are three sections to the exam, and let me tell you, it's difficult. It is not an easy exam, and I don't mean to scare you guys from the very beginning, but this is why we offer this NCIDQ exam prep course. It's more of like a learning community. We run it twice a year. We run it in the wintertime and we run it in the summertime because there are two windows of opportunity when you can take the exam in April and in October. And so we run our course about 4 months, to 5 months before that, so that way it prepares you. We have qualified educators as instructors and study coaches that help support the learning community. We offer small study groups, so even though there might be 100 of you that are registered for the course, you have the ability to get into a smaller study group of about 10 to 15 people that you meet with on a regular basis, whether it be virtual or in person. Most of the time it's virtual because that's usually what works for people in terms of schedule. But I know that some of the chapters are exploring some possibilities or offering some in-person study groups as well. But that particular exam focuses on the IBC 2021 codes, which are all about making sure that a building is safe, it has health and meets health standards, and it meets those codes. There are three sections: the IDFX, which is the fundamentals, the IDPX, which is the professional section, and then IDIX, which is the implementation. Most of you who are in school can take the FX right as you graduate. And then after a few years of experience, you can go on to take the PX and the IX. Some of you may want to wait, don't want to take it right out of school. Although, if you're already practicing and doing exams, it's probably a good idea to just jump right in and take one anyway. But why does this matter? Well, this particularly is a recognized industry standard of professional credibility. There are other certificates that are out there or certifications that are out there that are not necessarily registered on a national level. So, but that doesn't mean that they're not valuable to your career. They just have a different focus. This is a national standard. Other certificates focus on just skills that may be relevant to design, relevant based on research, relevant based on current practices, but not necessarily a national standard. So, whenever you decide to upgrade your skills, make sure that it's either a skill that you want to apply to practice or that you want to do to grow your practice. Um, so, understanding that pathway and how you want to do that is incredibly important. I do want to give you guys a nice little sneak peek as we're talking about certificates and certifications and planning your career. And you all are the first to know, but we are going to be releasing this fall a brand new certificate called the Career Skills Certificate. This is strictly for recent grads, people who are just entering the interior design profession. And what it focuses on, it's like an onboarding program of sorts. It helps to get you prepared for the workforce, the soft skills, the things that, trying to get yourself more comfortable in an environment that helps you prepare for that professionalism. I'm sure you all are great designers, which is why you're probably acing your projects and you're getting ready, or you're getting into your senior year or finishing up your degree. But taking that next step into preparing you for professional workforce is really important. And so that is going to be releasing this fall, and we will have it available for registration probably starting in September. So be on the lookout for that. I'm sure that I will be providing information to Brandy to put inside the inside scoop to let you know about that, as well as when the next NCIDQ exam prep course will be offered, which will be in the winter.
Thanks so much, Robin. I'm really excited for that launch for sure.
Mhm.
All right. So as we've discussed today, ASID offers a variety of resources to support your growth as a future design professional. And each of these resources serves a different purpose, but together they contribute to the same goal, helping you to build knowledge, skills, and confidence needed for long-term success. So a simple way to think about that is knowledge plus learning plus preparation equals professional growth. So really, some of the most successful designers don't rely on creativity alone. I know we think of this particular industry in terms of the creativity you're able to bring forth, but they stay informed, they continue learning, and they prepare for what's next throughout their careers. That's the real value of these ASD resources. They help you build those habits that support your growth both now and in the future. All right, so as we close today, I'd encourage you to choose one action to take in the coming weeks. Maybe that's reading the next issue of the Inside Scoop, which will be released on Tuesday, August 11th. Reviewing our design research reports. We just had one released yesterday, so please take a look for that. Exploring design learning, as well as taking a look at the certification pathway for the NCIDQ. Keep in mind, you don't have to do all of these things at once, but starting with one resource, one opportunity, or one area you'd like to learn more about is really the first step. So the important thing is taking advantage of these resources available to you as part of your student membership while you're still a student and beginning to incorporate those into your professional journeys. Those small steps today can make big opportunities tomorrow. So thank you all for joining us. We'll now open the floor to any questions you may have. I don't see any currently in the chat, but we'd love for you to ask us your questions there. But while we wait for questions, we do have a prompt just in case we don't receive any. And that is, which of these resources are you most excited to explore after today's session? So you can answer that question for us in the chat. We'd love to know.
Brandy, they're putting it in the Q&A section, not in the chat. So I just answered someone that was asking a
Thank
question
you.
about the CIDQ exam. And yes, they are based on the IBC, ICC, and IPC codes for 2021. So I posted a link for you to go directly to CIDQ, which shows you all the different documents of what the exam is based on. So,
Great.
okay.
Thanks, Robin. Yes, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. It looks like the chat is disabled, but you're welcome to use the Q&A to ask any questions you may have.
Brandy, can I answer that first question about why ASID over IIDA? Um, they're both very good organizations. Let me just say that. And I have had, I'm 30 years in the industry. They both have their strengths. I would say ASID is really at the moment broader, right? So we encompass and we're a voice for all of the industry, which is really important as a student, and you're not necessarily as targeted and specific yet in your career. And so ASID offers a lot of networking across a lot of different market sectors and a lot of different kind of areas. So not just professional design services, which is IIDA's focus for commercial design, but also for those in residential, which could be multifamily, senior housing, adaptive living, which are all growth markets at the moment, giving shifting demographics to older populations, but also sales and manufacturing and our affiliate members. And so there's a much broader network that you can create, which is extremely important when you're young. And then as you get into your career and if you find you want to be more niche, then choose IIDA. And I wouldn't say choose an either or. I would say do a both and, because ASID gives you that breadth, and then maybe IIDA gives you a few specific resources specific to an area or market sector that you are specializing in.
That's great, Dawn. Thank you so much. Looks like we have another question regarding participation in ASID events such as High Point Market. Yes, absolutely. We definitely have programming coming up that we'll post in our events section on our website. You're absolutely welcome to participate in those events, and we would encourage you to do so. And then another question and follow up to that is, will ASID have any in-person events anytime soon? And we have our largest event of the year coming up in September, which is our national conference, Gather Catalyst 2026, will take place in Dallas. Registration is currently open for that. The early bird registration deadline for the best pricing is coming up on September 1st. So we encourage you to look into that experience. We'd love to see you there. For our student programming at Gather Catalyst, we have a session focused on design sectors. So learning from our Ones to Watch scholars. If you're not familiar with Ones to Watch, it's a yearly recognition program where we award up to 20 total award winners for Ones to Watch, and then we select a total of 8 scholars to participate in a 2-year leadership program where they focus on thought leadership. And as a part of their process in that developing their thought leadership, they participate in programming at events like Gather Catalyst. So they'll be hosting that session. The other session I was just working on is specific to showrooms and how to go to market, if you will, how to make the most of that experience and interacting with reps in a showroom, because this year's conference in Dallas will take place at the Dallas Market Center. So this is the first time where we're hosting an event in conjunction with a market. Their market will be running a few days ahead of the conference and then extended into our conference being hosted there at that location, we're able to utilize those showrooms and help teach students how to make the most of that experience. And then also, um, in conjunction with that, we will host student firm tours at a few local Dallas firms as well.
Hey, Brandy, can I interject in there a little bit? The one session that we're offering, that is a student geared session, will also have CEU credit at Gather Catalyst, is part of the new career skills certificate. So for those of you that might be interested and are going to attend Gather Catalyst, you will be able to get one of your courses taken care of your certificate right there at Gather Catalyst, and we will give you a discount for attending so that way you can get a discount off the entire program. But you have to be there to get the to get the discount. So because you get a leg up by starting with the one course that's there in person. So, and I did type some of that information in there, as well as some information about when the NCIDQ, the next group, is going to be starting, and that's going to be in January. I can try and I'll try to drop a link in here for you guys so that you can get on the wait list.
That's great, Robin. Thank you. Another question, do members usually get free access to events? While Gather Catalyst does have a registration fee associated with it and potential travel costs associated, other events at, NeoCon, for example, those are free programming for our students. As well as our virtual events. So the event you're attending today, our roundtables, and other events that we host virtually are free to our student members. All right, let's see. How many people constitute a student group at Gather to qualify for the group discount? It's 5 or more students together. So if you complete your registration and add your group members at the end of the registration, as long as you have 5 or more, you receive that 10% discount. Thanks for that question, Christy. I think we've got all of the questions covered, but I'll give you the opportunity, any last minute questions, to enter them in the chat. Let's see.
Yep, I'm dropping the link right in there right now for you, Brandy.
Thanks so much. All right. Will there be any roundtable events coming up? Yes. So our student leader roundtables, we did host them quarterly previously, but we're shifting to a little bit of a different model to make sure that we're hosting them at the best times for students. So our next one coming up will be in September, on September 8th, which is a Tuesday. We typically host them on Tuesday evenings. And the focus of that roundtable will be on mentorships, because we currently have a mentorship session, our design or our mentorship with design careers by ASID session for the fall will be starting next week. So we thought we would focus the roundtable discussion on mentorships as well. And that session will be hosted by our Student and Emerging Practitioners Committee. One of our members, Veronica Clifton, who I think, Veronica, you're on the webinar today. She will be hosting that session for us. She is one of the mentors who will be participating in this fall session. I think she has 3 mentors matched for this session, which is exciting to see. So hopefully you'll join us on September 8th for that session. And you can check out the details in the next issue of The Scoop. Like I said, coming out on August 11th, you'll be able to link to the Zoom registration from there.
Brandy, I wanted to answer a question I answered partially about the winter NCIDQ exam. One of the questions was, how many hours per week of time do you recommend to set aside for this? That's a tough question to answer because that's different for everybody. You know, it depends on how you study and how you retain the information. The way that the course is scheduled for exam prep, there are 5 webinars that are about 90 minutes in length, and they run every 2 to 3 weeks, just about throughout that 4-month time window. And then you also have a weekly study group session that can run anywhere from an hour to 90 minutes as well. But in addition to those sessions, you should be doing some studying outside of that time on your own. And so, really, we recommend folks to try to be studying somewhere between 5 and 10 hours a week, on their own, depending on what their needs are. Some people may need to study more than that. Some people may need to study less than that. We do talk to you about study planning at the very beginning of the course to give you a realistic schedule that you can set for yourself so that way you can stay on track with not only what we cover in the course, but to keep your studying on track leading up to the exam day. So,
Great. Okay, I think we covered all the questions. I don't see any others. If you do have additional questions, oh, looks like we do have one more question pop up. What is the cost of the NCIDQ course? Robin, do you want to touch on that?
yeah, the member rate is $269, and that covers your registration. It covers it covers access to the course. You do have to purchase books in addition to that, but generally our books stay around like $200 or less. So we try not to like try to make you go broke. For students who are not members, the cost is $329. So again, this is an example of where being a member is a benefit to you because you get a little bit of a discount in some of the programs that are for members as well as for those who are not members. Good question. Let's see. Does NCIDQ break down the IB codes in a way to understand who have difficulty with the professional language? The instructors and the study coaches do that. That's why we do smaller groups. They are very good at helping you try to figure out, especially because in different areas of the country, we find that people who've been in practice for several years may call something that is not necessarily standard across, but they call it by a specific term and they've never heard that term before. So we try to make sure that you get on the same playing field to know what those things mean. So yes, we do go over terminology and definitions. And yes, if the prep starts in January, those students would plan to take the spring test. Yes, in most cases, that's the case, is that most people would be taking their exam in April. However, we have had students join the group who were planning to take it in October and they wanted a longer window. And so they did take it in January and they took our course then. And then they repeated the course for the fall, which, by the way, we give you an additional 20% off if you repeat the course, a second time. So, we do that so that way, and that particular student wanted to have that length of a runway to prepare themselves for all three exams. So, it really just depends on you and how much time you think you want to do that. Okay. Would that course be pretty comprehensive to be able to test? Or would you need to spend time before the course starts? No, again, that's a personal question. The personal question, I mean, it really depends on what you know. It really depends on, um, where you're starting from in your study process. So some people like to go through just some of the basics that are on that CIDQ information site just to see what they do know, see what information in terms of the different study components and that they recommend. So that's usually a good place to start. But you don't necessarily have to pre-read or pre-prep for the NCIDQ course. If you have no preparation whatsoever, we'll get you prepared. And literally, we start with a study plan and planning time in your schedule to study and giving some recommendations on how to study. Okay, can you go over some highlights of the design learning offered? So we offer a bunch of different types of courses. And just because Dr. Haney is with us today, I'm going to mention the foundation specifically. Many of the ASID Foundation grantees who have done research on a variety of topics that are beneficial to design practice, we do a CEU on their research, and that is offered for free to everyone who accesses our site. We also have some courses and things that are specific to different topics that are of interest. For example, we now have a partnership with IWBI, and we're offering a Healthy Homes certificate program. That program is intended for folks who are focused on residential design, but also people who want to learn more about the well standard. And this course is sort of a good starting point for some of you who might be aspiring to want to do well AP somewhere down the road in your career. This would be a good place to start. Some of the other CEU courses that we offer, which a lot of you educators out there really love, is the ethics course that we have. I found that apparently ASID is the only organization that offers an ethics course in their learning management system. And we built it 3 years ago, and now we're trying to update it again. So, because it was a standard that some states required, and folks needed it to update and renew their license in particular states. So we cover things like that as well. But we also have a variety of industry partners that will provide information on products and materials. Um, there's also some courses on artificial intelligence. Also referring to what Dr. Haney said about the universal design or aging in place, some other white papers and things. We have the committee that actually did the writing of those white papers also created CEUs for us in addition to that. So we cover a wide variety of things, and we're always adding more stuff to our catalog all the time.
All right. Robin, did you want to answer that question as well?
Oh, what events? Well, actually, that's more your question, Brandy, I think. So,
For sure. No, it said that you would like to answer the question. So I was
oh,
just
yeah.
sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So in terms of what events allow students to interact with design professionals, I would say really all of our events in some capacity. So, for example, at MiaCon, we hosted a student portfolio review session where all of our panelists were design professionals. They participated as portfolio reviewers, and then we had additional professionals there to supplement as reviewers as well. So that was an opportunity there. Our student portfolio competition is an excellent example of the opportunity, if you make it to the final round, to be interviewed and have that interview practice with design professionals. I will say too, as we expand our student portfolio competition in this next year, we will have some other opportunities as part of that experience that involve portfolio reviews in advance, where we invite our professional members to serve as portfolio reviewers to have a conversation with students about their portfolio before they submit it to the competition. So really any and all of those experiences. I know we talked about the roundtables too. And I mentioned Ronica hosting our next session in September as a professional. And we typically will invite, depending on the subject matter, our professional members to participate in those conversations so that, all those experiences give you that opportunity for interaction. Any other questions? All right, I think it's about time to wrap up for today. But if you do have any other questions following this webinar, I encourage you to please reach out to us anytime at students@asid.org. We'd be happy to answer your questions there. And I'll just say thank you all so much for attending. And please remember that advancing your expertise today will prepare you for tomorrow. So thank you all. See you next time.